All right, people, I really hope Rupert Lowe or even Nigel Farage says this to the BBC.
Rest assured, there will be big changes if One Nation is given the chance. The SBS will be gone.
And Senator, you have said you want to abolish SBS. You said in your speech the internet has taken over, the need for it. But SBS is providing Australian news in 60 languages, not international news alone.
We've got 7,
so isn't
9,
that in line?
10, 2, well, 2 will be
but
gone,
in language, in up to 60
and then
languages.
then you've also got, you know, the other forms of internet as well. Sky's great to go and look for news. So
I really wish she had mentioned me as well, but that's okay. That's what she meant, though, by internet.
I'm talking about in 60 languages to help people integrate into Australia.
I'm sorry.
Is that not
Look,
part
I
of
can
your
understand your
platform?
question. You're going to be without a job. So anyway, I can understand that.
Isn't that part of your platform? Isn't that part of your platform, Senator, to integrate people from other countries into Australia, to help them become Australian?
That's a very stupid question. This is what we call, in cricket's terminology, a low full toss, begging to be put out of the park.
No, I want them to be able to learn to speak English before they get here to get their citizenship, and that will help them assimilate into our society, because 872,000 people said they speak very little English or none at all. So where's the assimilation? We are a monocultural nation, not a multicultural, and our language is English, and that will help people actually be able to go out there and get a job.
Yeah. Guys, I saw signs board in different languages in London. I was like, oh my God, multiculturalism here is on steroids. Like, what's the point of that? You're de-incentivizing people from learning the language of the country they have moved to. And now guess what? I have started seeing signs in Arabic, Urdu, Hindi in Australia. It's like, why? Why are you doing this? This is why we need to have a change of culture in Australia. We tried multiculturalism. We tried everything. Doesn't work. But the reason why I played you this video, because look at the state of the BBC. I remember watching this. This clip went viral about, I don't know, 6-7 months ago. This was filmed in December 2025. Have a look at this.
So the man in the white shirt, now I know you came over on a small boat. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
What's your response to what you're hearing? Because obviously everyone is talking about people like you.
Well, let me say something first. I just want to clear that leaving the convention doesn't just affect the migrants. It would give ordinary people.
Look at it. He's reading from his mobile phone. Some people might have thought that, oh, you know, he probably just wrote it down. A lot of people read their speeches from their mobile phones these days, but you're going to find out.
One less core.
But you're going to find out the reason why he's reading from his phone.
People want less court, ordinary people want less court to protect their rights, even for weekend checks.
It's amazing. Anyway, so he's an Afghan migrant, came to England via boat. Now, as it turns out, this is obviously Green's, oh my God, that guy, how did he get there? How can you be so pathetic and rise through the ranks and get that? It's not his achievement. It basically reflects how poor British society has become. So now, as it turns out, these guys were planted by the BBC. Listen to Zia Yusuf.
The BBC have been caught red-handed. Do you remember when they planted illegal migrants in the audience of Question Time to ambush me and ask me whether a Reform government would deport them?
The Reform policy is to deport all illegal immigrants in the UK within 5 years. So that would be, I mean, these are real people.
Are they?
That would be someone like you.
If you're in this country illegally, you will be deported back to the country from which you came.
Well, it turns out not only were those illegal migrants planted in the audience, they were literally coached on what to say.
They were coached. They were told what to say. Please don't get out of the ECHR.
By an open borders charity. This is according to the Telegraph in astonishing reports today. And the chief executive of this open borders charity also happened to be in the audience at that Question Time.
There you go. They brought him in. They coached them. They brought him in. Oh my goodness. defund the BBC.
And just happened to have been randomly selected, of course, by Fiona Bruce to ask another question in which the British people were lectured to. Remember how insane this was when men who broke into the country illegally were given a national platform on the state broadcaster, remember, funded by you, to lecture you about the merits of having a secure border. And in fact, one of them, and I really couldn't believe this, he started reading from his phone, which was a bit of a telltale sign at the time that he was being told what to say and fed his lines. He started talking about how Britain shouldn't leave the ECHR and even started talking about the Northern Ireland Protocol. I didn't realize that men who broke into the country from Iran just a short while ago happened to be experts in British constitutional law. Now we know why. They had been planted there and coached on what to say, fed their lines by this Open Borders charity. The BBC knew about this, and they were there for one reason and one reason only, to act as a vehicle and mechanism for Open Borders propaganda from the BBC. The fact that they were in the audience at all is a disgrace. The fact that the BBC concealed it is even worse. I'm afraid the BBC is morally bankrupt. And you may as well now at this point assume that every bit of news you see on the BBC is in fact a clandestine operation by an Open Borders charity.
Not just Open Borders charity. They've been spreading propaganda. And that's what happens when you actually sit on the fence, because I know the BBC is getting pummeled by pro-Pali testers as well. And I can assure you, even as someone who is pro-Israel, I'm not happy with their coverage. They've been calling it a genocide, or they've been showing sympathy to those people who call what happened in Gaza a genocide. So the BBC should be impartial, but it's not impartial. This is clear. It's very similar to what's happening to our national broadcaster, funded by Aussie taxpayers, the ABC. And we also have SBS, which is, I don't know if it's fully funded by our taxpayers or just partially funded by taxpayers. But this is why Pauline Hanson said SBS will be gone. It has to be gone. I think we'll need to defund the ABC as well. And in the UK, they need to defund the BBC as well. There's one more clip by Zia Youssef regarding this issue. Let's have a listen. He's very charismatic. He speaks really well.
Outrageous things I've seen. And now we've learned today, Michelle, that it was one of the most surreal, insane, outrageous things I've seen. And now we've learned today, Michelle, that what was clear at the time, that these people, A, had been planted on the BBC, but B, were actually being coached and, in fact, fed lines. I mean, even in that clip, you could see he was reading from his phone. And this was a man who ostensibly had come from Iran a very short period of time ago, and suddenly was an expert on constitutional law in the UK, was lecturing British people and me on the panel about how awful it would be if we left the ECHR, and somehow had really good knowledge of the Northern Ireland Protocol as well. It's kind of like I don't know what's next for the BBC. Do they have post the budget, they get some convicted bank robbers to come on and give them their perspective? It was one of the most insane things I've ever seen. Now, what we've learned in the Telegraph today, the Telegraph has revealed that it was a charity. I'm going to say charity in inverted commas, because I think these things are complete scams. An Open Borders, quote, charity called IMIX. And actually, I think there's a photo you should have, actually, of the CEO of this so-called charity with the illegal migrants beaming ear to ear. Now, Fiona Bruce also, I'm sure coincidentally, picked on not only those illegals in the audience that they'd planted, but also the CEO of this charity too. Now, when I wrote a letter to the BBC at the time after this show, making a formal complaint, I asked a series of questions. One of the questions I asked them pointedly was, were these people coached to ask questions? Because not only that, they launched into attacks on reform. They had one of them actually attacked my family. So they were very, very, very well rehearsed.
I remember
this was very clearly propaganda. And the BBC, of course, obfuscated, did not answer the question. Don't forget, people watching
They didn't answer the question because they knew they were guilty. Obviously, it's better to stay quiet than lie. So that's why they didn't answer it.
News right now. It is your hard-earned. If you're one of the people who actually abides by the law and pays the BBC license fee, because if you don't, obviously they come after you, don't they? You are funding this. And I mean, I'm afraid at this point, you should basically assume that everything you see on the BBC, it's sensible to assume everything you see on the BBC
is propaganda.
Is simply Open Borders propaganda from some so-called charity. It's an absolute disgrace, and it beggars belief.
Obviously, IMIX are not here, but I imagine if they were here, they would say that they're a legitimate charity and that they are operating above board.
No, but look, that's fine. they can be whoever they are. They can be a charity. They can push whatever the agenda they have. But how come the BBC is actually doing that? How come the BBC is facilitating that? Why is the BBC being complicit in that when it should be impartial? Well, because we know all of our institutions, judiciary, bureaucracy, the media, everything has been held hostage by wokery, by woke ideology for a better part of this century. Therefore, things have to be turned around, and people who did this, they need to be forced into retirement because they have literally ruined the greatest civilization known to mankind.